We might be ranked number 2 right now, but I don't think there's a better team or a more fun team than Auburn basketball right now.
Johnson goes to deny. Step back. Big three.
It's got you here.
Jones doesn't go. The tip by Broome. Up ahead, Harper.
Hello and welcome to this special episode of War Eagle Weekly. As you can see, we are filming for the first time ever together, and unfortunately, we did not have an episode last week. Both of us were sick. Unfortunate circumstances did not allow us to record last week. But Josh, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Just excited to talk about Auburn basketball finally.
Oh my gosh, it feels like we haven't talked in forever. We're doing this at my parents' house, and because it's our family Christmas party, and we just got done watching Purdue yesterday get whooped on by this Auburn basketball team. But let's quickly talk about some of the games that we missed. Let's start off with Richmond, which we proceeded to stomp. It was on a Sunday. It was a little weird for this time of year to have Auburn basketball on Sunday. But Josh, in that game, anything kind of stand out to you from what you can remember? I know it's been a while.
Auburn won by 44 friggin' points. Yeah. I mean, there wasn't anybody that stepped off the screen on the stat sheet.
Yeah,
I think we had like 5 or 6 players scoring double digits. Just the entire team as a whole was just money the entire game.
The thing that stood out the most to me is we had Jakai Howard had 21 minutes. It was kind of the first game where we started getting him more and more into the rotation after his playing hiatus, if you will. Him and Hudson have started to get into the rotation a little bit more, but specifically Jakai Howard. And that was the first game. But absolutely a stomping. Neville Arena for 11 a.m. on a Sunday was just, I mean, they did a great job. The fans, you couldn't ask for a better, environment.
At this point in college basketball history, if you're underestimating the Auburn fans and Auburn crowd, then then you're not paying attention to basketball, period. Because Auburn's fans are the best in the country. They travel better than anybody. Against Duke, they were complaining how many Auburn fans there were in Cameron Indoor.
So the athletic director sent out an email to season ticket holders reminding them to only sell tickets
to Duke
fans because there was such a large contingency there in Duke. So no, I agree with you.
It's just Auburn fans are the best in the nation. It's not even close.
Well, after that game, we ended up playing Ohio State in Atlanta in the Atlanta Falcons arena. All in all,
Atlanta Falcons.
I am sorry, the Atlanta Hawks. I got football on the mind. We've been watching football today, but an absolute drumming of what turns out to be a pretty decent Ohio State team.
Yeah, because they just beat number 4 Kentucky by 20 today.
Yeah.
Or was it yesterday?
Yesterday. That was yesterday.
By 20 points. Number 4 team in the country. Mm-hmm. And we beat Ohio State 91-53. So, I mean, if you believe in transitive property, we are 58 points better than Kentucky, or give or take. But, I mean, golly.
And Jakai, speaking of Jakai Howard, he had another good game. He played quite a bit, played 13 minutes, which against that level of competition was a little high. But he came out there and, I mean, he just absolutely lit it up.
He's 2 for 2 from 3.
Yeah,
he was 4 from the floor. That was definitely one of his coming out parties for sure.
Right? Yeah, and you can see why they want to get this guy on the court. He is electric.
I mean, he's a 5-star for a reason. Talk about electric, though. Ever since the Duke game, Denver Jones has been on one hell of a streak. I mean, he started his double-digit scoring against Richmond, and he's kept it going since then. He was 3 for 4 from 3 against Ohio State. And ever since Duke, he's just been lighting it up from 3.
No. He was 4 for 5 against Ohio State.
Was he?
4 for 5.
Well, regardless. I mean, he's been lighting it up from deep against all levels of competition. And if this is the type of play that we can expect from Auburn down the entire stretch of the season,
right,
then I mean, I was confident going into the season, but I am beyond confidence right now that Auburn's going to make it to, at the very least, the Final Four.
Right. No, yeah. You and I talked about it in our preseason video that we did, predicting what this Auburn team can do. And I definitely booked. I was on the book train. You thought I booked a little more than you were expecting. Last year, you called last year's team better than the 2019 team.
I still think it was.
Turned out that it wasn't. We lost in the first round. But
we also had a huge crutch on our team last year.
Oh, speaking of crutches, I believe you're referring to a certain Aiden Holloway,
yes.
which we have told our listeners constantly that we are 100% going to be the most petty
if it wasn't
Auburn
such a bitch,
podcasters out there.
If it wasn't such a bitch, it would not be this bad. It just wouldn't.
If he hadn't said what he said about
this product, I wanted even
after he was going to say a thing.
Even after he admitted or said he was transferring to Alabama, I was like, I wish the guy the best. And then all of a sudden we see what he said. I'm like, okay, all bets are off.
Yep. And then you throw in the fact that he was talking about not about Broome, but he was talking about how the center he's playing with now at Alabama is the best center that he's ever played with.
Dude,
and Broome definitely took note. And who's having who is the front runner right now for National Player of the Year?
Oh, it's Jakai Broome, and it's not even close.
Not even close.
Not
right
one
now.
player.
No.
I think KenPom had like the odds for Player of the Year. There was, I think it was like starts at like the top 10 are like 1.4, and then Jakai Broome is it's like 7 point something, and the closest one to him is like 2.6.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Well,
Ohio State
not even close.
They didn't look like a good team. They looked like a team that was probably going to make the tournament. I mean, they could have, but it's hard to judge when all I've watched was that game. But I mean, they went and played Kentucky and just from start to finish,
they stomped them.
They stomped
the crap out of Kentucky. And Kentucky was supposedly the third best team in the SEC.
I was watching parts of that game and I was just like, where was that player in the Auburn game? And I realized it was just because we have the athletes to stop them and to not let them, drive the lane like they were.
We have the best all-around best team in all of college basketball.
No, I agree. It's hard to argue.
Now, I'm not trying to bug right now. I'm really not.
Yeah.
It's just kind of hard to argue against what I just said. It really is.
No, it definitely is. Moving on, though, we then had a game against lowly Georgia State, and it was a little bit of a dirty game. Right off the bat, Jakai Broome got hurt, which I don't think
know if it was a dirty play.
It wasn't. I don't think it was a dirty play, but everything within the game was pretty dirty. The Georgia State players were doing some stuff that was just they were trying to muck it up.
Well, their head coach played at Georgia.
Yeah, there's that. So yeah,
it explains some things.
Yeah. So, but we went out there, we beat them 100-59, and it wasn't even really that close.
No.
I mean, it was one of those games where I think in the second half, I was flipping back and forth between NFL Red Zone. Or no, that was the Richmond game. That's right. Georgia State was during the week.
Yes.
But I just remember not being fully checked in the second half. But, I mean, we just absolutely, without Jakai Broome in the second half, completely took over the game. The first half, they looked terrible.
They looked really lost. And then, I don't know who's responsible for it, but in the second half, they literally took over. I don't know if Broome was like, dude, you guys got this without me, or if it was Bruce saying, we got to prove to the world that we don't need the best player in the league to compete. And they came out, regardless, they came out in the second half and just did exactly that. They won without Jakai, showing the world that we didn't need them, mainly off the back of Cheney Johnson, who scored 26 freaking points.
That guy had a game. He was carrying this team.
He is our most valuable bench player, and it's not even close.
And I called him the sixth man of the year.
Yes, you did.
I called it.
Yes, you did.
Now, when we get to the Purdue game, I believe he started at power forward, and Jakai Broome started at center. Cardwell came off the bench in that game. I don't believe Cardwell started that game. But
I do have a favorite part of the Georgia State game.
Okay, go for it. Let's hear it.
It was at the tail end of the game. JP Pegues hit a 3-point shot.
Yes, he did. He did.
I literally jumped up for joy when he finally hit it, because you could look at him and see the joy and weight get lifted off his friggin' shoulders.
Yeah, it kind of felt like we were cheering for him as much as we cheer for the walk-ons, when they get into the game and hit a bucket, because that's essentially his contribution.
Yes, right now it is. But I really hope he can get it together and start producing more. But I also don't really cheer when the walk-ons get on the court because I'm the type of guy that likes to keep the foot on the throat.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. You're right.
And if the foot stays on the throat, I'm a happy guy. Yeah.
But in the first half, you could tell that the problem was that they were like, okay,
who do we run through?
What's going to happen with Janai? They were thinking about that. They didn't know how to process that. And then I think once they kind of found out what the injury was, they got a little bit more information at halftime. They were a completely different team in the second half.
I don't know what clicked. I would love to have been a fly on the wall.
I think they just realized that it wasn't that big of an injury. Because Janai came out of the locker room and was crying, and I personally thought
season was done.
Holy shit! How are we? I didn't think the season was done, but I was like, how do we learn how to play basketball when we don't run the offense through Janai Broome? Because so much of what we do on offense is facilitated through Broome because he is such a great passer, and he opens up the entire middle of the field, the court.
You know, speaking of passing, I forgot to mention this. I'm pretty sure it was against Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
Janai Broome is the only player in the history of the game to have 20-plus points, 20 rebounds, 6 assists, and 0 turnovers.
Wow.
First player in college basketball history to have that stat line.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy, man.
As a big, Cameron, as a center.
Yeah, that's pretty insane.
Centers turn the ball over all the time.
So, Cheney Johnson, he played for 30 minutes in this game, scored 28 points, like you mentioned, had 8 rebounds, 4 assists. Chad Baker-Mazara had another great game, and so did Denver Jones.
Yes, but Chad Baker-Mazara, he got to the line a crap ton.
He did, which is what we needed.
He did not have the stats that say 19 points. He's 0 for 4 from 3, 4 for 11 from the floor. So he got to the friggin' free throw line 15 times.
And he hits them all.
He does.
He hits them all. I feel like that's a really good segue because talking about hitting free throws, let's move into the Purdue game, which I feel like there was, once again, it was a game where the opponent was sent to the line so much more.
23 times to Auburn's 9. 23
times.
That
is ridiculous.
Yes.
And now I watched the press conference with the Purdue coach after the game, and he talked about our team. We don't get to the line a lot, but when we are there, you're making it.
Yes.
I mean, Pettiford I think he's at 100%. Chad Baker-Mazara is over 90% on the year, shooting his free throws. Denver Jones is having a great year at the free throw line. The only person that's really struggling there is Dylan Cardwell and Janai Broome. Yeah. Janai Broome, that is the problem with his game. But we found out right before the game started that Janai was going to play. I was wondering if they were going to kind of nurse him around and kind of, ease him into the game, but they really didn't. They absolutely played him up until the final 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah, they played him
and even then, I thought maybe that might have been a little too long. Now, this was the crazy thing. I was watching replays, and at halftime, Purdue scored that 3-point shot that put them at 26 points for the game at halftime. Coming out of the half, once again, this team makes crazy good adjustments. We talked about it before. You talked about Bruce Pearl and his staff making crazy
There's no better staff at halftime adjustments.
But they came out. It got down to 6.5 minutes left in the game, and Purdue had 39 points. For 14 minutes of the second half, they scored 13 points.
You can definitely tell when our starters left the game.
Oh, yeah.
Because even the announcer was talking about, I was like, the score of this game does not reflect how the game went.
It was a 30-point game, and then all of a sudden, Purdue ended the game on an 11-0 streak.
It was an 87-69 victory, and we were up 35 points.
Yeah.
And we definitely had our backups and walk-ups out there.
And Purdue is not a bad team.
No, they beat who they beat?
I believe it was a team up north.
Was it oh my gosh,
a
D2 team?
Was it? No, it wasn't a D2 team. It was probably, I think it was the second best team in the state.
UAB?
No. Alabama.
Oh,
University of Alabama. They beat Alabama.
Oh my god. That's crazy, dog.
So this is not a bad Purdue team, but I had to keep reminding myself, just like the commentators kept saying. They were like, hey, this is not a bad team, but this Auburn team is dominating them.
Different. Auburn team is different.
And they kept saying it as well. This team loves playing together. They love each other. They have so much fun.
You can definitely tell they do.
They have so much fun playing together, and it is just absolutely so much fun to watch. I cannot even begin to talk about how when you move from football into basketball, it is just one of those things to where, like, as an Auburn fan, historically it's kind of been but that's not the case anymore.
It's really not. It's so exciting these days because we got super excited about this coming season for football.
Mm-hmm.
Astronomical
too much
letdown of a season.
Yeah,
and then to come off a very disappointing football season into one of the greatest basketball seasons, probably if they go farther than the Final Four, they are definitely better than the 2019 team. And they're going to go down as the best
that's
Auburn
fair.
basketball team. And right now it's looking like it's going to, because at this point, Auburn has so many weapons offensively and defensively. And who is going to stop them?
And they've been around such a long time. We have so many seniors on this team.
I think Pettiford is the only non-senior that gets meaningful minutes on the roster.
Well, Jakai Howard is continuing to get more.
I'm talking about before Jakai Howard got off his probation from the fight.
He's at 19 minutes again in this game.
Well, I get that. I'm saying before that, Todd Pettiford was the only non-senior getting meaningful minutes.
I see what you're saying. But I will also like to take this moment, since we're talking a little bit about Jakai Howard, the difference in his demeanor and his energy on the court is drastically different than what it was at the beginning of the season. Before I think it was the very first game. They showed Auburn hitting threes, and Jakai Howard is sitting over there in the corner, just hanging his head on the court. He's playing, and
he's not getting the ball.
He's not getting the ball. He was head down, and then he looked like he was disappointed that the team was making shots. I think they fixed that. I think we talked about it last year, how, not to bring up Aiden Holloway again, but in the Florida game, there was a moment where Bruce Pearl was he was yelling over here, and the players were sitting right over here. And it was right close. And so you could tell he was yelling at the player, but didn't want to yell at him on camera. And Aiden Holloway was just kind of sitting there and just kind of he checked out.
This is not what I signed up for.
Yeah, he couldn't care less. But Jakai Howard, he appears to be taking the coaching better. He looks like a different player right now.
At this point in time, especially in Bruce Pearl's career, you got to have those types of players on your team.
Oh, yeah.
You're not going to have the type of player that can take constructive criticism like Aiden Holloway
and hard constructive criticism.
Yeah, he was getting it consistently last year with Bruce Pearl, and every time that happened, Aiden Holloway is like, "This is bullcrap. I'm a 5-star point guard. I shouldn't be getting talked to this way."
And I don't understand the mentality. I don't want to go too much more into Aiden Holloway, but
I'll dog on him all day.
But they gave him the green light all year long.
Oh yeah,
all year long.
Nothing was on the table for him.
And guess what? They gave another 5-star player the green light, and that's Pettiford. And so far in every game that has meaningful, he has just poured it on.
One player who was sold a dream, the other one's living the dream. And we got the one that's living the dream on this team.
Oh my gosh.
Every single quad one team that we played, Pettiford has scored mid to high double digits. The dude is a primetime baller.
Oh yeah. And I honestly think that because he was in foul trouble in the Duke game, that had a lot to do with the fact that as to why we did not win that game, because he wasn't on the court at the end of the game when we needed him.
You gotta there's got to be something we got to do to fix these stupid mental mistakes when it comes to this fouling.
But see, okay, now,
at times it's ridiculous.
Now,
at
see,
times it is.
I agree. It feels a little ridiculous, but with how explosive this Auburn basketball team is defensively and how they are just constantly in your face and they put so much pressure on the ball that I think you're just going to have to live with this.
No, I understand. I made the argument that this is what Bruce Pearl's teams do.
Yeah.
They're aggressive. They're physical. But at the same time, in those friggin' huge games, you got to have a different kind of – you got to have a plan B. You have to.
Yeah. No,
and our plan B, I'm pretty sure our plan B used to be JP Pegues and Pettiford working together, but that plan B was scrapped.
Yeah. Yeah, Denver Jones and Pettiford are looking really good as a point guard duo. I don't believe Pettiford is ever going to start unless Miles Kelly goes through a dry spell. Because I think you keep Denver Jones at the point. I think he's been.
I would agree.
Denver Jones has looked absolutely phenomenal. Defensively, he is playing like the best defender on this team. He really is, because there's games where his guy just disappears. Just absolutely, positively disappears.
Because he's the best defending guard in college right now.
Yeah,
can't change my mind.
And I think this is the best team in college basketball right now, and you can't change my mind on that.
Tennessee is definitely not number one. Look at Auburn's schedule compared to Tennessee's schedule. It's laughable at what their schedule is.
We talked about it. We talked about it. Right now, Auburn's total KenPom numbers puts them at number 5 all time. Number 5 all time.
Best college basketball teams?
Yes.
All time?
Yes.
That is crazy, and the season's not even over with.
Not even over. If you would have told me that we went 10-1 in the preseason, that we went 10-1 in all this non-conference stuff, I would have taken that in a heartbeat, because we thought that there had to be at least 2 or 3 losses somewhere along the line.
Well, I mean, what were our projections before the season even started? I'm pretty sure I only had us losing to Duke.
That may have been it.
Sure.
Well, then I was the one that thought we had 2 or 3 losses. I don't know. But
did you know we've only beaten 4
I saw that.
Non-conference teams in the history of Auburn basketball? We have 5 this season.
From 1976 until 2023, Auburn has 4 wins against top 25 teams, non-conference teams. In 2024, we have 4 top 25. 4. Top 25
in one season over all those friggin' years. 50-something years.
Absolutely crazy. Phenomenal. And guess what? We're bringing Duke up.
Because
Duke beat us, they have gotten to such a huge bump in their rankings that they are now, looked at as one of the better teams in the country.
I really don't think Cooper Flagg is as great as everyone makes him out to be.
Okay.
He looked really good, but at the same time, it's like.
And so we had that conversation. We had that conversation where on paper we look at it and we're like, but within 2 minutes of that game,
we were both like,
he's good. Okay. I see what they're saying here.
I think he's really good. I just don't think he's as good as the media is making him out to be. They're saying it's fair. I don't know. And Jakai Broome as player of the year.
Yeah, I don't know.
This is not a close race.
But I will say, and if Jakai Broome watches this, I want him to know that this is the biggest absolute monstrosity, or it's an insult. I've looked at several NBA draft big boards and NBA draft projections and everything. Jakai Broome is not in the first 2 rounds, the 2 rounds of the NBA draft. They are not projecting him to get drafted in either of the rounds of the ones I've watched. Maybe, hey, leave a comment if you see a ranking or you see a draft projection and it has Jakai Broome's name on it. Let me know, because I want to see it, because right now I haven't seen one that has him there, and I don't know why. I don't understand it.
I'm looking it up now because that just doesn't sound right at all.
Because Jakai Broome is, like we've talked about, he is the front runner for National Player of the Year. And the game against Georgia State, where he was only in there for 6 minutes or so and only had 2 points, are only slightly bringing his number down, because they were absolutely insane prior to that. The man is averaging a double-double per game and just absolutely looks like the best player on the court almost at all time.
You know, he reminds me a lot of Joakim Noah when he's at Florida.
Oh.
Except Jakai Broome has a 3-point shot. Yeah. But those two games, in my opinion, are very comparable. They're both physical guys. They both rebound like crazy. They're both unstoppable in the paint. And they both pass very good.
I have to disagree there. Joakim Noah was a crazy good defender. Crazy good. Jakai Broome is a good defender, but his offensive game is way better than Joakim Noah. But Joakim Noah's defense was above and beyond way better than Jakai Broome's is. And Jakai Broome is a good defender, but
like I said, like Jakai Broome obviously has a more of an offensive game than Joakim Noah does. So there are some things that each player's better at, but in my eyes, when I see Jakai Broome play, I see a lot of Joakim Noah. A lot. Because he's definitely feared in the paint.
He definitely is. He definitely is, and you saw that teams are trying to figure out a way to double him and still defend the 3-point line, because Auburn has made a year so far out of hitting that 3-point shot whenever they go down to double Jakai Broome. Jakai Broome's passing is this offense right now. His scoring is essential. I get that, but it's because of his passing is the reason why our offensive numbers are so good.
Yes.
Because we have players that are hitting wide open shots or getting wide open shots. So, but guys, we're going to end this episode here. We are crazy excited to start our interconference play coming up in the new year. We have one more game against Monmouth. We're going to talk about that game as well as the Missouri game next week and on next week's episode. So make sure you hit the subscription, the notification bell.
Ding, ding.
So that way you are notified whenever we have a new episode drop. And we promise we're going to keep on dropping these episodes. We absolutely love everything you guys are doing for us. Keep sharing, keep, commenting, liking, everything. Engage with us. We want to hear what you guys are thinking. All in all, though, War Eagle Josh and Merry Christmas.
War damn Eagle.
Johnson goes to deny. Step back. Big play.
It's got you here.
Jones doesn't go. The tip by Broome.